is also inspection. One thing that's nice, this is also a magnet on that port, so that way if you start, because you can actually look in here and see the gears, if you start to get a lot of wear, you'll see metal shavings start to build up on this. On the side is your oil port. Now when the pump's been sitting for a while, you should see oil. Once it starts up, it'll push all the oil forward. So don't be alarmed if it starts and it's running and you don't see any oil. And after you turn it off, it may take a half hour or so for it to get all the crevices up front and then settle back out. But if it has been sitting for a while, say an hour or two, and you do not see any oil, you probably should add it. You want to see it hang about halfway up with the notifications. Yep. And as for oil, when you're running these things like a car, maybe when you first start it up, run it. After maybe a month, change the oil, look at it. Our oil specs are in there. It does take some special oil in the manual, but that's about it. There's your breather port right here, and then up front you got the wet end. So this is the end we're going to focus on. That's really what you guys are going to deal with. If we were just talking in the office over there, if something happens in the back end and the gears, like your bearings go or you get some gears to replace, I recommend that people taking care of that for you guys, because that way they do that stuff all the time. They're training done. So focus on the wet end. So you can do two ways to get the head off. You can take off just this front cover with these 4 bolts. But what I like about ours is if you remove these 4 in the backside, the whole head comes off and you have access to the screws.
What about pounds per torque or pounds pressure and that stuff too?
These, I mean, Titan, I trust you. Yes, they're. So this is a German pump, so every nut and bolt has a torque setting. Don't worry about that, just tighten until it's tight. Okay. There is a torque setting later that I will show that you absolutely need to pay attention to. The screws of the rotor nuts. But meanwhile, otherwise, just tighten until it's tight. So, listen. Right here, these are handles. So when I went to Germany for pump training, and I met the guy who designed this pump, and I hugged him because he's the one that put the handles in the pump head. As you guys know from working on the floor, they're slippery, they're wet usually because you just did a wash down, and they can fall. So that's nice. So take out the rear nut, the whole head comes off. Now you got access to the whole wet end, which is really nice. You gotta come around and try it. Why block it? Try it. You're good. That's nice. For one, it's good for visual inspection. That way, say you think something went through it, or you just want to make sure it's getting clean. Quality people like to peek at stuff and see it. That's easy to take off the whole head. Now you have access. So now here's the screws. So you're gonna see all our pumps come. This is flat stainless hook. That's hardened. We harden all our heads standard. These screws are not hardened. What we do?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think we did harden the screws. I think because of. So basically, should do our homework. Pay attention. But if you harden the screws and you harden the head, nice. Especially like sugary products like peanut butter, I'm sure we harden it from that.
Yeah. But I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I don't want to say yes without knowing.
And then what's also nice, the flush ports. All our pumps come with the flush ports. So for the one on, the first one we sold you with a single mechanical seal. The second one that came in has a double mechanical seal. And for piping up our seals, we have to have flush ports for each shaft. So you always go in the bottom and then out the top. What that does is that way you have a fully flooded, evacuates all the air out of the seal, and you get good water touching all the seal surfaces. So you come in the bottom, out the top, curl around, go in the other bottom, and out the top, and that way they're in series. So that way if one blocks, if you don't see water coming out, then you have a problem. Potentially if you run them individually, one could be blocked and the other one could be flowing. You wouldn't know. Trying to think what else. Seals. You don't need a lot of water coming out. It doesn't need to be arcing out, but you want some positive flow. The people always say, how long can the seal run dry? Because if you have a single mechanical seal, you're relying on the product to cool it. I start doing this. How fast do you feel heat? Not try running it. No. 400, 500 RPMs. Things heat up real fast. So with your peanut butter, I know that's got to be single mechanical, that's okay. We designed it a harder, it's called the knife head, and so it's a harder seal face. Because I know you don't want water flowing next to the peanut butter, and that's okay, it's designed to be that way. But the doubles for the other products, we like the steak sauce and things like that. What's nice about double mechanical seal is if accidents happen, like if the tank's supplying it and it runs dry, then the pump can run dry. With a single mechanical seal, pumps can never run dry because they'll fry. Accidents happen, because, someone's not paying attention, the tank runs dry. Or during CIP a lot, we see that too. So, now onto the screw. So let's just say the reason we're working on the pump is because you have a seal failure. You just notice that there's an atmospheric gap between, there's designed to be in the food industry. All food pumps have an atmospheric gap between the gear case and the wet end. That atmospheric gap is required because if you have an oil leak, they don't want it to go into the product zone. So it goes from, say, the oil seal fails in the backside, it falls, it'll start dripping down here. They don't want it to go into the product. And vice versa. If you have a seal failure and if the product starts passing through, you'll see it dripping underneath the pump here as well. So let's say you have a seal failure. So what you do is you take off the rotor nuts. Now, at this point, with any other twin screw pump, especially your AxiFlows or anything like that, what you do is you take your Sharpie and you mark left screw, like L for left, R for right. You mark where it is on the spline, where exactly that screw is. I used to do like 2 indications on one and then 2 on this one, just so you know exactly, because if you don't do that, if you take off the screws and you try and put them back on, you'll never find the combination. You have to retime the pump. And so you'd have to drain the oil, open up the gear case that has a compression coupling around there, loosen, do all that. It's a nightmare. So the same engineer that put the handles in the pump head figured out that this spline geometry to the gear geometry back here, we don't have to do that. So that's a game changer, because I used to sell Bornemann twin screw pumps, which are a similar design to the AxiFlow. And I had a customer that called and said, hey, we blew out a seal. I said, great, don't touch the pump. I'll be there to help you guys. It's about a 3-hour drive. He said, go ahead, no problem. Put it in the shop. I drove up there. Well, I got there mid-afternoon. First shift went home. Second shift came in. The mechanic saw the pump sitting in the shop. I walk in, it's all apart. I'm like, oh shit! You didn't mark the screws, did you? He's like, do what? I tried for 45 minutes, every combination of it, couldn't do it. And I've never been trained on how to retime a pump, because I was just a distributor working for MG Newell, and then you get like Casey. So we had to ship it back to the factory. So back to us, what's nice is so we can take that and we don't have to indicate. Now, that said, when I'm working, say if I'm working on your pump, I still will mark just for safety things, but in case accidents happen and you don't, you should be good. So what you do, to put the screws back on, you mix them up, you lay them on something flat. Okay, what happened? There it goes. And if you put them back on and the faces are total flush, absolutely flush, you're good to go. Now you can put on the screws and torque it down. But if you're off one flight, if you're off one flight, your faces are no longer flush. Come on over and feel. You gotta feel it. I mean, you can feel how that is not flush. I mean, it's very. Let me take a picture of the phone. Yeah, that is nice. That right there is eliminating a lot of human things happen. Because again, the pump's not sitting on a table usually in the shop. It's sitting underneath the tank on the plant floor. mistakes and people are in a hurry. They're usually staring over your back, get the things fixed, get it going.